Hi folks, HR Funk here. For many years, I was an armorer with my prior department. As such, I have a professional interest in finding new tools that make firearms maintenance quicker and easier, which is why recently, after a video where I was using my Military Armament Corporation MP5 went live, and I was contacted by the owner of Annie's Arms and told that he has a tool for making disassembly and reassembly of an MP5 magazine faster and easier, I was all ears. So after looking at the tool online, Annie's Arms does have a video on YouTube, you can look it up, and he shows exactly how his tool works. But I watched that video too and expressed an interest in getting one of the tools so I could check it out here on the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how the tool from Annie's Arms works. It does make disassembly and reassembly of an MP5 magazine much quicker and easier than it would be if you were trying to do it just by hand using screwdrivers or whatever. So here we go. Let's take a close-up look at the tool and I'll show you how it works. So here is the tool from Annie's Arms. It's a pretty simple tool. It consists of two arms, each of which have a projection on the front that you see right there. There is a center post and also a spacer. The spacer is not necessary for disassembly of the magazine, but you can use it when you reassemble for positioning the base plate properly to get the right location above these little projections, and I'll demonstrate exactly how that works in just a moment. It turns out the Annie's Arm magazine tool fits perfectly into the recesses of my Real Avid vise, which should be very helpful because, as always, while reaching around a camera trying to do something like this, it can get a little tricky, and this should help stabilize the tool itself. When we look at the MP5 magazine, we can see on the bottom there is a locking plate right here, and there's a tab on the front and rear that secures the locking plate in place. Inside is a magazine base plate, and we can see that through this little hole right here. And when I position the post of the tool in that little hole, I can push up on the magazine base plate. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to compress the spring, and I want to line up the projections in the tool itself with this front and rear locking tab. And that should be just about right. And when I do that, I am pressing in, and let me make sure I have the one in the back in the right place, and I believe I do. So this magazine base plate is not wanting to come out. Therefore, I'll grab a screwdriver and give it just a little bit of help here. There we go. The front portion is now out, and the back portion is now out. Now, this spring is being compressed, and the only thing that's keeping the magazine body from shooting off of here is the fact that I have these two projections inserted in these openings in the magazine. So get a good firm grip on the magazine so you don't shoot it across the room. And at this point, I can raise this up off of here and completely disassemble my magazine now. And of course, drop pieces of it on the floor. There's the follower. So I've got everything taken apart. I can clean the magazine, I can clean inside the tube, I can clean off the spring, and then I can reassemble it, as I'll demonstrate here momentarily. Here, by the way, is that piece that I dropped on the floor. This is the part that was inside that little hole that we saw where the post was inserted, pushed up on. This is that part that rests right at the bottom of the magazine spring. For reassembly, you recall I mentioned this little spacer that properly positions our locking plate where it needs to be so the little projections can press in on those springs. And I'm going to leave that there momentarily while I put our magazine back together. So I've got the follower on top of the magazine spring. It only goes in one way. So if you're trying to put the follower into the magazine tube and it won't go in, that means you have it backward. So the follower is back where it goes. The spring is in there. The tricky part of this is compressing this spring because it's under a lot of tension. So I'm going to put it right there So it's on top of that post, and press down on the magazine body, just like this. And we need to make sure we get that base plate back inside, and it is there. Now at this point, I'm going to press in on the arms of the tool again to help compress these little tabs to get them inside the base of the magazine. And once I get them started, I can move the arms out of the way. And it's a little bit of a trick to get this lined up just perfectly. And there we go. The magazine is reassembled and ready to be used. So the tool works pretty well. It does take just a little bit of practice. You need to do this a couple of times to get the feel of it, but it works just the way it's supposed to, and that is much, much easier than trying to do that with screwdrivers and hand strength and a lot of profanity. For more information about this tool, as well as pricing and availability, stop by the Annie's Arms website, and that video that I mentioned on YouTube is also linked on the Annie's Arms website, so you can watch it there as well. In any case, that's going to do it for this video. As always, if you have any questions or comments, make sure you forward those to me. See you next time, folks. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.